introduction. I've been friends with John for, man, I want to say it's probably been 8 or 10 years, and it's been fun keeping in touch with each other and watching each other grow. I'm super impressed with what John's journeys looked like over the history. But a little bit about me. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm CEO at Apple Roofing, and we're out of several states in the Midwest primarily, and we do about 35 million a year. And I also host a podcast called Core Concepts, and that's kind of what I'm going over today a little bit, is like some of the concepts that we can use as leaders in our business, because a lot of these things I wish I would have known sooner. I know I'd be further along. And so I'm just going to share some of those things. Let me figure this fancy thing out. So the first thing I really wanted to go over, and Sam did a really good job about touching on this yesterday. He called it your what, right? And what is your objective as a company? This is one thing, if I did do anything right when I started, this is one thing that I did do, is knowing like where I wanted to go, right? Because we seldom get somewhere unless we know where we're going, right? So, and let me explain to you exactly like what that looked like for me. So when I was just starting in the business, I was 18 years old, and I lived in a town of like 7,500 people, right, when I started my company. So the biggest thing that I ever saw or knew was like the guy, right, in my town that like did all the roofing. And so that was my goal, is I was like, man, I really want to be like Bob. He just like kills it. Everybody knows, like, when you need a roof, call Bob, And so when you're thinking about your what, your what will change over the years, right? If anybody's familiar with Mount Elbert in Colorado, it's one of the tallest mountains, I think 14,000 feet. And if you climb it, you get above the tree line and you think you're just about at the top, and you get there. And when you get to the top, you're like, shit, I'm not to the top. It's what they call false summit. And you see another summit up higher on the mountain, right? And then you climb to that one, and you're still not at the top. You'll see another summit, right? And it's got two false summits. And it's no different in our business, right? We go as far as we can see, and then we can see further. So when you're figuring out your what, you don't have to think about the greatest thing ever. You don't have to think about, I want to be Jeff Bezos. Think about something real that you think you can accomplish, and set your sights there. And then when you get there, you're going to be able to see further. But also, view it as a journey, right? Like when you start out to go somewhere, there's points that you've got to make, whether you're driving somewhere or whatever, right? You're going to map it out. If you're using your GPS, you're following a map, and you're going to do the same thing in your business. You're going to create a map and follow that map, right, to get where you're going, and create measurement along the way, right? Because we all need to see progress in our business. I mean, Tony Robbins talks about that. He says progress equals happiness. And I think we all have to be experiencing progress somewhere in our life in order to be happy, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be our career. It could be physically, it could be mentally, it could be your career, it could be your health. It could be all sorts of things. But when people aren't experiencing or progress, they're not happy. So when you hear about people say, well, gosh, when's enough enough, you know? Why do people not quit when they get to like some point that you think is like the pinnacle? Like, why does he keep going? You know, Warren Buffett's got enough money to like retire, right? But he keeps going. And I think that's that, you know, God's a creator, and they say we're made in God's image and likeness. We're creators. We're built to keep getting better. So when we don't experience progress is when we start to feel like depressed or whatever. And if you feel that way, you got to reevaluate, where am I going and what's it going to take to get there? Map that out so that you can experience that progress. But when you map that out, there's a little bit of a formula, right? You might say, hey, I want to get to here. How much desire do you have to get there? And then you got to say, how much effort is it going to take me to get to that point? If your desire is small and the effort is big, right, you're going to get failure. If your desire is big and the effort's little, you're going to succeed. Your desire has to be bigger than the level of effort in order for you to accomplish success, right? And we can affect that, you know, we need to analyze that paradigm, I guess, and find out, like, if I say I want to be a billionaire, well, what does that mean for me? Does that mean that I'm going to, like, give up most of my life, right, in accomplishing this? Does my desire really support that? If it doesn't, then maybe that's not your mission, right? So if you can do things, though, to manipulate your amount of desire, and you can manipulate the amount of effort that it takes. So when you look at, like, how much desire do I have to get to my goal, you know, we all can relate to the fact that sometimes we come out of something, we're like, man, I'm super jacked, I'm motivated, I really want to go accomplish this big thing, right? But then after a little bit, like, you know, that falls off. Our desire kind of starts to taper. And if you want to increase your desire, then whatever motivated you or inspired you, keep doing that, right? If something motivated you to want that desire, put more of that into your life. That's a hack to increasing your amount of desire, and that might be listening to a certain podcast or reading certain types of books, right? Those things increase our desire. Now, when you look at, like, the effort that it takes, we want to reduce the amount of effort it's going to take. Same thing. If you're putting, like, good knowledge into your head, you're going to find shortcuts to get to your goal faster, right? Those are ways of getting to your goal quicker by relying on other people's experience. You know, and the same thing if you want to get rid of something. You know, if you want to get rid of a bad habit, you can make the effort greater. You know, if you watch too much TV and you want to say, hey, I want to spend less time watching TV and doing more, something more conducive to, like, that supports my goals, I don't know, take the batteries out of the remote, right? Now you got to, like, physically walk up to the TV and turn it on. That's increasing the effort. So think about that in your business in the same way. And then Pate just touched on this. What do you want to be known for? You know, determine that as soon as you can in your business. That, I think, is one of the things that we give major accolades to, I guess, at Apple Roofing is, at the beginning, we wanted to be known as a brand that people can trust, right? And we've made decisions in the company based on that. And, you know, when you look as a contractor at, hey, why do I have to be the lowest priced in order to get work? Or why, you know, this is one of those ways that you can overcome that. You can charge a little bit more when you're a brand of trust. That's one of the major obstacles in our industry is that, you know, Doug Quinn said it yesterday really well. He said, you know, look at all the bad news coverage there is about contractors, right? It's propagated. People, when they think of a contractor, they don't think of necessarily that stereotype as being one that inspires trust in them, right? There's this unscrupulous contractor propagated into the public. So that's a bad thing for our industry. But if you can differentiate yourself, it's a good thing for you, right? I think Jeff Bezos with Amazon did the same thing. You know, when he started Amazon in the 90s, you think there wasn't a lot of fraud on the internet, right? There was fraud all over. Like, that was one of the major things of, you know, why people weren't shopping on the internet is because they didn't know, like, am I gonna get what I ordered? When's it gonna arrive? You know, and so Jeff Bezos really used that to his advantage and became a brand of trust. He created, you know, a set of promises, right? And a commitment to the customer, right? And so if you go to buy something online right now and you look, you can order it from Amazon or some website you've not heard of. A lot of times you're going to choose Amazon because you know it's going to get there in an expeditious way. And you know if it's not really what you ordered, you're going to send it back and they're going to refund your money. So we make buying decisions based off of trust. And I think when you have something in your company that goes wrong, make decisions based on that as if the whole world's watching, right? Whether it gets on social media or not, make every decision saying this is going to be all over social media. That's going to help you make the right decision, right? You're going to become a brand of trust if you make decisions in your company based on that. And it's really one of the number one concerns that people have when hiring a contractor is, you know, how's the project going to go? Can I trust them? Are they going to run off with my money? What if, right? And, you know, having that in your company creates a little bit of speed as well. You know, and speed really is magnetic with money. Right? We're all going to make $1 million in our lifetime. But if we can do that with speed, we can make $1 million next year, right? So speed and money are very parallel. And it really, speed just collapses time. So what we can accomplish in 30 years can happen in 1 year if we can, you know, use that lever of speed. And, you know, when we make any decision in our company, we should be asking ourselves, how can I be the best blank, right? When you're dealing with your supplier, how can I be the best customer I can be? When you're dealing with your client, how can I be the best contractor? You know, when you're dealing with your employees, how can I be the best leader, right? Those are the questions we have to ask ourselves in order to really excel in those scenarios, right? And it goes back to, it's good for a contractor to make money. It's good for everybody, right? It's good for the supply house. It's good for you. It's good for your employees, right? And it's good for the customer. You're going to be around to service them. So make sure that you know what your margins are, what they need to be, and what the minimum is, right? Don't try to operate around the minimum. It's healthy for you to make money. It's not a bad thing. You know, I think we all probably saw in the news last week, you know, a big contractor in the Midwest went belly up. And suppliers didn't get paid. You know, there's 70 some You know, homeowners with liens on their homes, the employees didn't get paid, right? Everybody got burned. And that's a big black eye for our industry. So make decisions, right? You're destroying trust when that happens. And something like that happening destroys trust in not just them, but in all of us. Okay, so we want, as an industry, to stop that sort of thing from happening. And I think these are some of the things that I think are a big, big part of not only preventing that from happening, but from also like excelling you to where you want to be. So delayed gratification is the #1 predictor of success, okay? It has more to play on success than your height, your sex, your race, your age, right? They did a test called the marshmallow test with kids, basically saying, hey, you can have 1 marshmallow now, or if you wait, you can have 2 marshmallows later, right? And they did a long-term test on this, and the kids that could hold out for the second marshmallow, right? That ability to discipline themselves enough to wait for that bigger reward later, we're more successful. And that's no different for us. It's no different for our business. We all, you know, there's a lot of money in our industry. You know, you can do very, very well. I think it's Ben Manchada, if I'm pronouncing that right, you know, says like roofing's the new gold rush. And it really kind of is. But don't, you know, for any new contractors out there, don't look at your first or second year in business and try, you know, start changing your lifestyle dramatically, right? We start seeing a little bit of success, or maybe even what we just perceive as success because there's a lot of money in our bank account, and then we change our lifestyle. We go get toys, right? We get a bigger house, all of these things. And Sam talked about this yesterday. I'm just gonna, he talked about the guy that wanted to buy the BMW, right? To be the, you know, I wanna look like I'm successful so I can attract other people to me because people are attracted to success. That's no secret, right? But not fake success. And so in the roofing industry, the BMW kind of looks like this, right? And you know, in the roofing industry, our trucks are like jacked up, lifted kits, lots of chrome, you know, good rims, fancy rims, whatever, but not really necessary to do the job, right? What this really tells a client, though, is not anything positive about your business, other than that you're running it like a personal thing. It tells them a lot about you personally, right? It doesn't tell them a positive thing about your business. And so I'm gonna go and say, when you get the steel rims, that's when you know you've arrived. You fucking made it, right? Like the steel rims are very utility. And so when we look at this, we know subliminally as a client or a customer, when this pulls up to our house, this is a business vehicle, right? Not a personal thing. And I think in the roofing industry, look at the difference here. When you look at this one to this one, the price tag on each of those, right? How many more units could have you put on the road? You could buy 3 of those for the price of that, right? What can 3 more sales reps in your business do for you? How much more revenue can they create? This is delayed gratification. That's a personal truck, that other truck. That's a very personal choice. If you choose to have that, it should be personally. The utility, steel rims, That's the business need, right? And as entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, whatever you are in your business, it's good to be wanting, you know? It's good to have a goal in front of you that you want this or you want that. That's not a bad thing. If you fulfill all of your wants, what's your reason to, like, what's your motivation that gets you out of bed in the morning if you've already got it all, right? That's a real setback to getting you to where you really want to end up, okay? Now, as trying to scale your business, right, we all only have so much time in a day. And I think every contractor says, man, I really want to work on this and this and this in my business, but God, I just don't have the time, right? And number one, a lot of the times we do have the time, we're just not managing it like effectively, right? I think it's very, very good for us to like make every minute count. Look at how you're spending every minute. Plan your day before your day plans you, right? There's a lot of hacks for that. I'd love to dive deep into that, but you know, the other thing with scaling your business though, and providing opportunity in your company, which is very important, by the way, because that's how you retain your people, is to keep giving them that progress, right? We're not the only ones that need progress. Every person in our business needs progress, right? That's what keeps them happy. So continuing to provide opportunities for them to grow requires us to trust them with new tasks, right? And so you've got to look at your day. I really encourage you to look at your day, and we've done this several times in our company, like company-wide. We take basically a simple Excel sheet, right? And you write down every little thing that you do during the day. Try to like be so minute that you say, hey, you know what? I took a phone call. It was 3 minutes. I did this. It was 30 minutes, right? And then get a week or 2 weeks worth of data down and go, hey, where am I spending my time? What can I delegate? Because when you can find something that you're able to delegate in your company, it's a chain effect. You're providing someone in your company the opportunity to learn new skills. You're providing a sense of trust. Your team knows, hey, he trusts me to like handle this, right? Not saying you don't have KPIs or something in place to like do the trust but verify, but we have to continue to give people new skills and replace ourselves because we can't move up till we free ourselves up. And that's one of the important things about providing opportunity. If we're not willing to trust our team with new things, they have no opportunity to move up. They're going to be stuck doing the same thing. He only trusts me to do this and this and this, right? And another, I think, hack for your time is creating habits. Sam talked about this yesterday as well. And I want you to think to yourself, what do I consider a habit? When you really look at the definition of a habit, it's an action that takes place that no longer requires effort. Wow. I can accomplish something and not even have to put effort towards it. Like, wow, let's do more of that, right? Because we all wake up every day and we have a limited amount of effort that we can put into our day. You know, whether it's mentally or physically, we have limits. And I'm going to say it's like any muscle. Mentally or physically, you can work out that muscle and you can get stronger. You can bring more energy to your day. Every day. It's not limited in that sense, but how you decide to make decisions in your company, you know, like Mark Zuckerberg decides that he's going to wear the same thing every day because he calls it decision fatigue. every time we make a decision, the little bit of decision fuel is taken out of the tank, right? So if you can save that energy for maybe some more important, more impactful decision in your company, that's a good thing. So look for ways to do that. And habits are a real good way to make that hack, I guess, happen, right? Like, when I think of the deepest habits that we have, they're sometimes thought of as involuntary muscles, right? Like, our heart is beating, we're breathing. If I had to think, hang on, I gotta beat my heart, right? Or I gotta take a breath. Like, you wouldn't get anything done in the day. You don't have to make mental decisions to do these things. They happen. It's that deep of a habit of our physical self. Now, we can control both of those things, right? We can control our rate of breath. We can even control our heart rate, right, through meditation. So that's how deep it is that we actually have to make the opposite effort in order to break a habit, right? And so it takes effort to stop it. So we're all going to have habits, whether we try to develop them or not. The point is, are they going to be good habits that are helping us get to our mission? Or are they going to be bad habits, right, that are going to take us away from our mission? And so when you look at the things that you do daily, really assess, is this helping me get closer to my goal, or is this taking me further away from the mission? Your energy is super important as the leader in your company. I really love this photo here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to that. So as we look at, hey, what's the most impact we can have on our business, right? The most impact we can have on our business is discovering where the constraints are. Where's the bottleneck in my business? And when you look at anything with a bottleneck, right? A water bottle or a beer bottle or whatever, well, guess what? The bottleneck's always at the top. No different in your business. The bottleneck is always at the top. You are the bottleneck in your business, right? My organization cannot get better until I get better. Nathan and I were talking about this last night. I told him, I said, hey, why did I not do $100 million last year? Right here. That's why. I didn't invest in myself enough to get there. That's why. And that's part of that extreme ownership mentality. If anybody hasn't read that book, Extreme Ownership, really encourage it. It's a great mindset for leading. And that's one of the things I think as owners, we really have to analyze is our own mindset. And we need to work on that, because that is how we can make the most impact on our own personal development, right? I'm going to use an example. When I started in the business, it took me 12 years to get to $5 million in revenue, right? Guess what I did during that time? I was like a robot. I was working super hard. It wasn't a lack of work ethic. It was a lack of investing in my noggin. I was investing, or I was working really hard, but not smartly, okay? And I think there's a certain amount of, we've got to step back and go, okay, how much time am I spending learning? How much time am I spending doing, right? How much time am I spending practicing? Probably a little flip-flop there, learning, practice, do, right? And it's a circle. But that is important to incorporate learning into your day, every day. Even if it's 10 minutes in the morning that you dedicate to learning and you dedicate the whole rest of the day to doing, you're going to make a huge impact in your business. Another way that I think that you can make the most impact is like a self-assessment, right? And I'm gonna do one real quick with you. When is the last time that you failed at something in your business? Nathan had a really profound statement last night from The Simpsons. He said, the first step to failure is trying. And I really like that, actually, because that's the reality. If you're not failing, you're not trying. And so we ask our team every day to try new things, to expand themselves, to push harder, right? If they never see us fail, they're going to be afraid to fail, right? We walk around like we need to be some kind of a genius or a guru, or some people want to be like viewed as like some kind of influencer, right? And they don't want to fail, or if they do, they don't want anybody to see it. But what does that do for your team? What makes a bigger impact on your team is letting them see you fail and getting back up and getting back up and getting back up, right? As many times as it takes to win. And when they see that, they get inspired. They're like, now I see what it takes, right? We all want to like portray this destination, and they call it a destination addiction. We portray that we're like, we made it. We've arrived, right? And people don't need to see what you did. They need to see how you did it, right? And a lot of that involves putting yourself out there. Like, what is the thing that scares you the most? I can tell you, I've always shied away from things that scare me, right? Public speaking scares me. That's why I'm here. Because I'm scared. I have to do this until I'm not, right? And so whatever it is that scares you, that's probably the thing you need to do more of to lead your team more effectively. And, again, I'm just gonna like drive this home. Nobody wants to see what you earned. They want to see how you earned it. So show them. When we look at like leading our team, when you're in the plane, they talk about like, oh, in the case of an emergency, the oxygen masks are going to come down, and make sure you help yourself first before you help someone else, right? Same thing in our business. Like, we can't motivate somebody if we can't motivate me. I can't motivate somebody, or I can't inspire somebody if I can't inspire me, right? So like, master yourself first. If you've got a problem, right? Like, if you're in a bad mood today, go fix that shit. If you're out of shape and lethargic and no energy, go fix that shit, right? Your team needs to see you on your A game every day. Like, we have to show up, because if we're not showing up, we're letting our team down, and we really need to think about that. Like, Sam talked about this yesterday. We fall in love with the position. We fall in love with the ego, right? Let all that go. Being the leader in your organization is an obligation, right? You should be approaching that as, I am obligated to make the people in my organization successful. When they're not successful, that's on you, right? I think in extreme ownership, they say, you don't need to fire the team, or the team doesn't need fired, they need led, right? Somebody was telling me the example that, and I think we can all relate to this, is when you have this situation where you feel like the whole team is not operating where you want them to be. You kind of are like, God, everybody sucks. Why won't they listen to me? Why I've set these standards, I've preached these standards, why aren't they following them, right? And there's that story about the Navy SEALs where they all have a boat to carry, right? And this is something they do in their training, and this is a story out of there, a true story, is they get 6 teams, each one has 8 people on the team. And they've got to carry this 200-pound boat plus whatever water and sand is in it, right? Across the beach a certain distance. They've got to row this thing manually around a buoy and back, right? And the winning team gets to sit out the next race as kind of a reward. And the losers, they get more punishment. They got to keep doing it, right? And consistently, team number 2 was winning again and again and again and again. And team number 6, or boat number 6, was consistently coming in last again and again and again and again. And the guy, the leader is who the commanding officers are very hard on when you're failing. They're not so hard on the team as they are on the leader. And so the leader of, number 6 really felt shit on. He's like, I've got this team of weaklings. I really got, I drew a short straw, And so after enough of this, the commanding officers called the 2 leaders up of 2 and 6. And he said, we're not going to change anything except for one thing. We're going to change the leadership. So boat number 2, you're now in charge of boat number 6. Boat number 6, you're in charge of boat number 2. Now, boat number 2 guy thought, wow, this is amazing. I get to have an awesome team under me now, right? Obviously, the leader from boat 2 is kind of ooh, dang, I got my work cut out for me, right? But he embraced it. And he said, we're going to go at this thing to win it. And they went to the next race, and team number 6 finished first. Right? Because they weren't infighting. The leader brought them together and made a team out of it. And it was a really powerful message there that it's not them, it's you, right? That extreme ownership mentality is powerful. So I'm going to go back to this. This photo to me, I always look at things and I see a meaning to me, right? And Sam yesterday talked about captains in your business, having captains. And I think that's a incredible, good mindset. And a lot of leadership likes to get in love with that position and be like, man, look what I did. I built this empire. I'm amazing, right? Do I know if this guy's an awesome drummer? He could be amazing, right? Do I know if he's an awesome pianist? He probably is. My band teacher was amazing at teaching all sorts of instruments, right? And playing them. But he doesn't go to show off his skill, right? The thing as entrepreneurs is we all think man, if I just would have had that idea, ooh, God, I could have made $1 million, right? Who hasn't thought that? The reality is, in our business, no idea is going to be the thing that makes us successful. It's your ability to lead a team. And that's exactly what this guy is doing in this picture is, he's leading a team. He's orchestrating. And that's what our job is as leaders in our company is to orchestrate our team, make them work well together. This is another thing that I couldn't help but include. I'm trying to look at the time here, make sure I don't go over, but it says, if you can't see it, it says, what you listen to and who you listen to is what you become. So, I mean, I used to, when I talk about those first few years where I like worked, and I didn't get very far, right? Over 10 years, or 12 years, I got to 5 million. And then in the next 5 years, after starting from 0 with a new name, we got to 27 in the same 5-year span, or less than half the time span. It's because of the shift of what I was putting in my mind, right? Like, I used to turn my key in my truck, and of course the radio came on, and I'd jam out till I got to my next thing, you know? And I think music is amazing, right? It's good. It can affect our mood. It can inspire us. It's really good stuff. And I think we should use it appropriately. But I haven't, like, Jay-Z didn't make me, like, successful, right? Like, he's never going to do that for me. But I can listen to an audiobook that can help me get there. I can listen to a podcast that can help me get there. Right? It's super important about what goes into your mind. And it goes all the way back to like the people that you're around, right? That's one of the major things that changed when I sold my first business and got into, Apple Roofing, was the circle. I eliminated some people from my circle, and I brought certain people in close, right? And those people were like the influence on me. Like, some of the people that I work with are a bigger impact on the success of the business than I will ever be, because they influenced me in a good way. So, like, just watch those habits that we have in our everyday and analyze them and say, does this support where my mission is, or does it take me further away, right? Every minute is precious. So, like, when you look at building out your team, though, and I'm going to probably have to rush through this just a little bit, but like, where there is no team, there can be no leader, right? If you don't have a team, you cannot lead anything. And so, when we look at this, I'm going to go ahead and come to this. When we look at how we operate our business, when we start, we're like doing everything. We're the marketer, we're the salesman, we're doing the books, right? We're answering the phone, we're doing it all. And this is just a mindset shift about the way we look at that. Multitasking in reality does not exist. It's a fake word. Like, they've done studies on it, and what it really is switching tasks rapidly, right? And we all know what happens when we switch tasks, right? We have an increased rate of error. We have a reduced amount of focus. Efficiency goes down, right? When we look at, Henry Ford created this assembly line mindset that, or system, right? That like revolutionized I guess I call it the Industrial Revolution, right? A different way of doing things where everybody has a real focus and a silo that they operate in, and it's a team working together to accomplish a goal. And I think the more that we can apply that mentality into our business, the more successful we're going to be, right? And when you multitask, it's really like an anti-team mindset. Like, when you start putting people in roles and saying, hey man, this is yours. We talked about this. You're building the trust. You're offering opportunity. And that's how things scale. You can't just scale by adding bodies. That's not the only thing that it takes to scale. Yes, sometimes you need bodies, right? But what are those bodies doing? most people that work in our organization, maybe we have like a little, things that we wish they'd do better. Guess what? They want to do them better too. Sometimes we haven't given them the right direction or set the right boundaries of saying, hey, this is where you start and this is where you stop, right? And when you do create those barriers and allow people to really get in a zone and focus on one thing, they get really good. I'm pretty much out of time, so I'm going to wrap it up. So thanks for watching the American Contractor Show, and Nathan's coming up. Nathan, do you got anything? I'm also amazing at ending everything very awkwardly. That's a skill that I possess.
That wasn't awkward at all. Hey, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Everybody, this is Dustan Biegler from Apple Roofing. So a couple questions for you, just in passing. Let's say you're one of these brand new guys and you're just kind of getting started and you are somebody who's just that one-man show. Not every piece of advice that you hear from somebody that's further down the road is for you. Some of those pieces of advice might be for you in the future, but not right now. So let's say you're that guy wearing all the hats. What would you say is something he or she should be like chucking a truck? And I've recently heard a term called Jan in a van.
I like it.
What should they be focused on right now?
I think going back to, where are you trying to go and what's going to get you there? And, I think when you do say break down your day, into like little micro segments and see where you're spending your time, it's going to tell you what your next hire should be, right? I think in this business, it's always the first thing is going to be like another salesperson, right? But to put that in perspective, this is one of the toughest leaps that they have to make, right? Because they're already doing everything, and just because they hire a salesperson doesn't mean they get to quit selling, right?
As a matter of fact, it'll probably add to your workload.
It is adding. You now have HR, you have training, right? You didn't have to do any of those things before. And that's another piece of advice I'd say is know what you should export in your business, right? Use third parties. You guys do training. That's an amazing way for a contractor to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to let somebody else handle this piece. Maybe have an HR and a payroll company, right? Yes, it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's going to free you up, right? Value your time. I even am guilty of this. People, even in amazing places, right, that are making their time in reality, when you look at your tax, statement at the end of the year and say, what did I make last year? And break it down into the hour. And you say, some of these people, maybe their time is worth $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000 an hour, right? In reality. But guess what? They still continue to answer their email, let's say, right? I'm guilty of that. Instead of maybe hiring somebody to, hey, can you filter through this and tell me what I need? We're doing you're taking somebody that's making or their value of time is incredible, and you're putting them into a task, right? Not to say don't lose the touch or the pulse on your company. Never do that. Matter of fact, I always say shock the system. We need to do this to ourselves. Every once in a while, I guess, go get into your business in a place you were never at. Shock what you do. It's good for everybody to shock the system.
Yeah. So that's some fantastic advice right there, is to just take a look at where you're spending your time. And I think a lot of guys, we get afraid of increasing the overhead in our business by hiring somebody to do things, okay? But what more could you produce and create with the extra time you just basically bought yourself by hiring someone to do some of those things? So that is a great nugget to land this plane on. Thank you so much, Dustan.
Yeah,
really appreciate you coming out, brother, and talking to us. All right, we're going to take a short break. You know what to do between now and then, and we'll see you at that time.